This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the HP Chromebook X360 Model 12B. Exciting model number, huh? So that's a 12-inch Chromebook. And right now, I know a lot of you need to have your kids have an affordable laptop at home to do homeschooling. Maybe you need to apply for jobs, need a laptop, that sort of thing. So affordable Chromebooks suddenly seem a lot more relevant. And this one is $359, yet looks a whole lot nicer than that. We're going to look at it now. So on the spectrum of Chromebooks, of course, there's the Pixelbook, the Pixelbook Go, which are the premium ones, $649 all the way up to $1,400. And then there are the really cheesy, plasticky, icky ones with very mediocre screens, which can be $200, sometimes even less. And then there's that whole kind of lower middle ground, which is, I think, the meaty area for Chromebooks for most buyers. And this one is $359. So for that, you get a 12-inch display, and it's an IPS 3:2 aspect ratio display, which is nice. I know a lot of you like 3:2 aspect ratios. If you're spending a lot of time, speaking of doing things like Google Docs or homework and that sort of thing, that aspect ratio is pretty useful, where widescreen means a whole lot of scrolling. Not that you can't watch movies on this. This is an HD plus resolution display, 1366 by 912. Yes, it's not a full HD or 4K display. Again, this is affordable. And at that price, it actually looks pretty good. You know, the color gamut's about 50% of NTSC, about 70% of sRGB, but it looks better than that, honestly. The colors are reasonable looking. It has good contrast. Brightness, not a strong point here. Again, you're still looking at a budget laptop for indoor use, clearly about 235 to 250 nits. But it is a touchscreen, which is important because these days with Chromebooks, you also want to use the Google Play Store and probably install some Android apps to increase the usefulness of the Chromebook. And it also supports a pen. So cool for schoolwork, doodling, drawing, that sort of thing. It's HP's new USI, which stands for Universal Stylus Protocol pen. It sells for $60, which is kind of pricey relative to the cost of the Chromebook. And do we need another stylus standard, right? You know, so it's not N-Trig, it's not Wacom AES, it's not the pen technologies that we see on Surface Pro, for example, or some of HP's business laptops. It's a new thing. The pen charges over USB-C. And to charge it, you pull up on the little end cap there and you'll see a USB-C port. And when you do plug it in, that ring at the top will actually light red and it'll turn white when it's done charging. Like HP's other USB-C rechargeable pens, I noticed that it does seem to drain even when you're not using it. So thank goodness it's rechargeable. You don't have to buy batteries. There are no buttons on this pen, and the flat side has a magnet on it, so it magnetically attaches to the side of the laptop. So although HP said in their briefing that the pen doesn't have pressure levels, it actually does. I don't know how many because they don't provide that spec, but it's pretty obvious when I'm drawing lines in Google's Canvas Chrome app, for example. There's pressure sensitivity. I can go from a light thin line to a heavy wide line. In terms of pen performance, this is going to depend on what app you use. Android sometimes actually does a little better than Google Canvas in terms of responsiveness, which isn't what I would have expected because that's non-native, but it's going to depend on the program. There is some stylus lag and that sort of thing. This is not meant to do fine art, but I'm sure your kid would have a lot of fun drawing, and if you just want to pass the time doodling, it works. It gets the job done. And for something like note-taking, it's absolutely fine. The palm rejection on it's pretty good. Laptop has an Intel Celeron dual-core. It's the N4000 CPU. It has 4 gigs of a low-power DDR4 RAM and 32 gigs of storage. Those specs are not the most exciting. Yes, I know it's a Chromebook, duh. But compared to some other of the competition from Lenovo and Asus, you can find better specs in terms of CPU, RAM, and particularly the storage. But it does have a microSD card slot to expand storage, and it does push back because it has that nice 3:2 aspect ratio display. It really looks classy. It's pretty light, the pen. You get the idea. So it depends on what you're looking for. Just straight powerful Chromebook, if there is such a thing, or these features. Now, HP's spec sheet also lists a Pentium 5000, which is a quad-core processor, 8 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage, but we're looking at the lesser model here. In terms of performance, Chrome doesn't need a super lot of horsepower, and I don't find it laggy or problematic when using things like Google Docs. And of course, everything you can do with a Chromebook, you can do here. Anything that's browser-based, you can do. So you want to stream Netflix, you want to stream Amazon, no problem. Web-based games, yes, they work too. And apps from the Google Play Store. So that's basically an emulation function. So that's where sometimes you'll see things feel a little slower. If you're using something like, Evernote, it's absolutely fine. If, however, you're doing something like playing PUBG, which is really demanding, it's not as fast and fluid as it would be on an Android smartphone made in the past 2 years with reasonable mid-range or upper specs. So on the spectrum of Chromebook powerfulness, obviously the much more expensive Pixelbook Go is going to be a stronger competitor. You can get a Core i5 there, for goodness sake, which is a lot of power for a Chromebook. But this one is absolutely fine for everyday use, streaming and all that sort of thing, and even using the pen to do some doodling. In terms of building construction, this one definitely punches above its price range. They call this a ceramic white finish. The top and the bottom, as far as I know, plastic, but the keyboard deck is aluminum. They call it their 3D look, so there's no wavy cutout lines or anything. It's just a very clean looking keyboard deck with an island style keyboard. It looks like metal. You know, you could be fooled into actually thinking this was lightweight aluminum. And speaking of lightweight, this one weighs 2.98 pounds, which is 1.35 kilograms. So this isn't like HP's more budget Chromebook 14, which is very heavy, like a lot of really cheap Chromebooks are. It's easy to carry. It looks pretty good. You wouldn't guess this is a budget Chromebook. And in terms of build quality, it feels pretty rigid. There's not a lot of torsioning. I would trust it to stand up to kids and all that sort of thing. The keyboard they don't have backlighting on this, and at this price, that's fair, but it has very good high contrast keys because the keys are pretty much white and the letter masking is nearly black. So it's reasonably easy to see it even in dim lighting. The keyboard feel is pretty nice on this. You have pretty good travel and nice key return. It doesn't feel like a pudgy keyboard by any means, and the trackpad works pretty well, as it does on most Chrome devices. The speakers are Bang & Olufsen branded like many of HP's laptops. There's stereo flanking the keyboard, so that means the sound is going to be best when you're using it in laptop mode as opposed to tent or presentation or tablet modes. And it's reasonably good. I mean, you can use this to watch your favorite Netflix show or YouTube, like you're doing right now, and it's fine. If you put the volume way up, you'll hear a little bit of distortion. There's not a huge amount of bass, but this is a 12-inch budget laptop, and for that, it sounds pretty good. Connectivity on this, you have USB-A, you have two USB-C ports, a microSD card slot in case you do need to expand that storage, for example, and of course a headphone jack. There's no 4G LTE option on this model. You do have Intel 9560 AC dual band Wi-Fi on board with Bluetooth 5. This has a 40 watt-hour battery, which is a pretty good capacity for a Chromebook with this kind of CPU. It's not the most demanding CPU. And given the fact that the display doesn't go crazy bright on this, HP says you can get up to 12 hours. And with our particular configuration, we're seeing about 9 hours or so, which is pretty good. And obviously, we're not exceedingly high on the brightness here, but that's running it at 150 nits and doing things like using Google Docs, streaming some Spotify, streaming some Netflix video, and playing with a few Android applications. Now, if you're doing something like PUBG, you'll get so much shorter battery life. Obviously, if you're using something like Evernote or any other more lightweight Android program, you want to see as much impact on the battery. Comes with a 45-watt USB-C charger. So that's the HP Chromebook x360 12B. They're 12-inch convertible Chromebook with a 3:2 aspect ratio display, pen support, really nice classy looking build, pretty rigid hinges on this. For $359, it's a pretty nice Chromebook. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos and hit that notification bell.